Hello. Welcome to an episode of Look at That Big Word. So we're going to do fraction addition with Cuisenaire Rods. Cuisenaire Rods. I'm sure that this is somebody's name and they made the rods, but we usually call them fraction strips. So we're going to call them fraction strips, or you can call them Cuisenaire rods if you want to be very fancy, because Cuisenaire rod sounds very fancy. So let's take a look. Fraction addition with Cuisenaire rods. All right, so which one doesn't belong? Well, it's a warm-up. Oh, we have an imposter. We talked about this yesterday. One of these things doesn't belong, and these things are what we know as imposters. So, remember our improper fractions are our imposters. All right, so which one is sus? This one is sus because our numerator is bigger than our denominator. So when your numerator is larger than your denominator, it is an improper fraction. Improper. All right. So all of these actually are equivalent to 1/2. If you think about it, 1 is half of 2. 7 is half of 14. 6 is half of 12. 5 is not half of 3. So which one doesn't belong? Obviously, 5/3 doesn't belong. 5/3, the reason why we say it is an imposter is because also 5/3 is a mixed number in disguise. All right, so think about this. How many times does 3 fit into 5? One time. And then so 5 minus 3 would be 2. So there'd be 2/3 left. So that's really what 5/3 is. It's 1 and 2/3. It's a mixed number. It was hiding the whole time. Grr. All right, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to clear the screen and take a look at some Cuisenaire rods. All right, so this is a Cuisenaire rod. Fancy, huh? All right, so half of a round rod and half of a brown rod equals how many brown rods? So half of a brown rod and half of a brown rod equals 1 brown rod. Now, why they're using purple to show half, I don't know. When they're saying half of a brown rod and half of a brown rod, but as you can see, the purple ones are half of a brown rod. So 1/2 and another half all together makes the whole thing. So moving forward, 1/4 of a brown rod and 1/4 of a brown rod equals. So now we're talking about if we split these in half. So boom, boom. So this is 1/4 of a brown rod. This is 1/4 of the rod. So all together, that would be 1/2, right? So that's what the connection is. So 1/4 and 1/4 is the same thing as 1/2. So 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4 would be 1 whole. 1/4 plus 1/4 is 1/2. And then 1/2 plus 1/2 is 1 whole. So half of a brown rod plus 1/4 of a brown rod. Now, this is kind of what we talked about yesterday. This is where it gets tricky. 1/2 plus 1/4, right? So really, if this was the whole thing, and then we have a half, and then we have a fourth. So what can we call this piece right here if it's made up of 1/2 and 1/4? It's not 1 whole, and right now we don't really have a name for it because we don't have the same denominator. So this is how we can make the denominator the same. We can change our fractions. All right. So if we have 1/2 plus 1/4, one thing that we can do is build a snowman next to the fraction that we want to change. Can 2 turn into a 4? It certainly can. 2 times 2 is 4. So we're going to change this fraction by multiplying. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4, plus the original 1/4. So 2/4 plus 1/4 equals 3/4.